Emperor, we come for you! We come for you!
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
Long live the fighters!
And there we have it. And we are back for another fun-filled, crazy episode. Just a word to the wise, word of caution.
Lucy's loaded for bear tonight.
I am fired up. I am fired up. Buckle in. Get your seatbelt on. Put on your helmet.
Even I'm scared.
Holy hell. It is it's gonna be a fun one. I think it's gonna be a fun one. So
all right.
Welcome back, everybody. This is season 2, episode 7 of the Fusion Underground. You know, I need to figure out how many actual episodes we've recorded because we have this breakdown of seasons, and I'm like, are we like on the 30th or what are we on?
Everyone, I love watching your face. Season 2 episode. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 6, 7, 5, or no, I don't know.
Yeah, whatever. It's just episode, today. Episode
it's today.
Yeah. Well. Well, here at the Fusion Underground, we try to make sense of the world by having principled discussions about such topics as entertainment, current events, politics, and culture. And we're going to be talking a lot about that tonight. Our mission is to educate people to become critical thinkers so they can live more happier and empowered lives. I'm your host, Manuel Ramirez, and I'm joined as always in the virtual studio by the lovely, the brilliant Jason Moret. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. A little apprehensive.
Like,
but I'm good.
Uh-oh.
I get text messages starting from you 2 hours ago talking about how you're raring and ready to go. So I'm like, oh no.
Let's box it up. As always, you can find all of our stuff at fusionunderground.net. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/AZ Fusion Underground. We have a YouTube channel. We're on Twitter at the FU Brothers. We have podcast feeds on Anchor, Breaker, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, and Stitcher. Of course, you can get all those RSS feeds off of our website at fusionunderground.net. And you can email us at contact@fusionunderground.net. So, but today, before we kick off everything, I mean, we got an action-packed episode. We have to talk about the big bombshell, the nuclear explosion that rocked Washington, D.C. yesterday. That was the passing of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I think everybody knew that it was coming eventually. Everybody knew it was coming 5 years ago. And the fact that she lived on this long is a testament to her strength and her tenacity as an individual. She is no longer with us. And the insanity that hit last night is just delicious. And we're going to get into some of that. People are losing their freaking minds. If you're a Democrat, if you're a liberal, you really need to step back. And I hope to God you're not like some of the people that we're going to talk about tonight. There are people that are literally losing their minds. We're also going to talk a little bit about COVID, but not from the way that you're thinking of. We're not going to be talking about the statistics. We're not going to be talking about masks. We're not going to be talking about the infectious rate or anything like that. Oh no, we're going to actually talk about what Trump did since January and go through a timeline. I actually have the timeline of all of the different things that President Trump has done. So the Democrats have been running around saying, if only the president would have done something sooner, even 2 weeks earlier, we wouldn't have had all the deaths that we had. Well, we have it for you here. We have that entire timeline, and we're going to walk through that. It's insane. I think most people will be stunned. Either you remembered this and you've completely forgotten about it, or you've never known it because the media hasn't been talking about it at all. But we're going to walk you through it.
Oh, take a deep breath. I think you need to.
And so it is it's insane. I want to kick this off with this this little tidbit here. You know, I mentioned that people are losing their minds. There is a thing called Trump derangement syndrome. We haven't really talked about it too much on here, but there is something called Trump derangement syndrome, and you should check yourself if you behave in this way. Check out this lady. She was caught ripping down Trump signs in some neighborhood, and some people, this guy, and I think his wife or his girlfriend, whatever, they confronted her on the street. And watch what unfolds on this.
And you are trash. You are fucking garbage.
Are you on drugs?
No, I don't have to be on drugs. I'm smarter than you on your best day, you piece of fucking hick shit. The way you are treating your children and your fucking animals makes me want to vomit.
Yeah, I got this.
You are sick.
And who are you?
I'm from California.
You should go back.
Yeah, I should go back. That's right. After I take all you pieces of crap down. Bye.
Are you smoking
Piece
meth?
of fucking dog shit.
Are you smoking
I don't
meth?
have to smoke anything to be stupid.
She doesn't have to smoke anything to be stupid. She's just naturally that way, I guess.
This just comes naturally.
Holy crap.
So
I'm
she
telling
was
you.
out ripping down Trump signs, and they stopped her to ask what the heck's wrong with her, and she's losing her marbles.
Just absolutely losing it. Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely losing it. Here's another prime example of Trump derangement syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. This actually happened when the news about Ruth Bader Ginsburg started making the airwaves, started hitting the internet. Of course, this woman is going to have an absolute psychotic break, an emotional breakdown. And of course, being 2020, the first thing she thinks to do is to grab her phone to record
Grab
it.
her phone and record a video. Yeah.
Yeah. So check this out.
Holy fucking shit, you guys! I'm driving your car, but I just got a notification that Ruth Bader Ginsburg died! Fuck! Could this year get any fucking worse? Ruth, you just had to make it to 2021!
These people are insane. What
My God.
the matter with you people?
Oh.
Absolutely wrong. Now I remember when Justice Scalia died after he was murdered, and that was a joke. Jokes. I have no idea if he was murdered. I have no idea. But I remember when Justice Scalia died. I loved that man. His philosophy, his legal acumen was just. He was a titan. He was an absolute titan. And when he died, here was me when he died. When he died, I heard the news and I was like, "Oh shit, that sucks."
Yeah.
Shit,
That really sucks.
I gotta get.
I really liked him. Yeah.
Maybe I'll read his book. Okay.
Gosh, man, that
Man.
sucks. Man. Yes, that's normal.
That's normal.
And-
I've never met the guy. I don't. I mean, come on. Come on.
Well, okay. So, okay. Here's what's upsetting me about all of this, probably more than anything else. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she's served on the Supreme Court for how many years now? Was it
Like 23
30?
years. It was like
Was
23.
it 23?
23,
Okay.
27. It was 20 some years.
Yeah, I mean, served a long time. Now, whether you
Yeah, yeah.
agreed with her viewpoints or not, as an American citizen, I can appreciate that level of dedication and service in the highest court in the land. And we as a nation should be able to at least take the time to mourn and celebrate her life, whether we agreed with her politics and policies or not. But we're losing our mind over all of it, and it's all politically based. And nobody.
Uh-oh. Did I lose you? I think he was flailing around so much that he upended his computer. All right, we're back. I have no idea what happened there. It was like, we're talking, you crapped out, and I think I lost him. And then all of a sudden, no, I lost it. Something happened on my end, so my apologies.
Yeah, and my whole rant is now over because I just
it was just
up.
like, whatever.
That's probably better. It's just a Jason rant. We'll just let that lie.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff.
Well, in a nutshell, I was saying we're not able to actually mourn and celebrate the life, service, and accomplishments of Justice Ginsburg, whether you agree with her politics and policies or not, because we're so wrapped up in the political implication of her death and or replacement. It's sad. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's sad. And you know, there were people last night on Twitter. They were incensed that the president hadn't said anything about Ruth Bader Ginsburg after news started breaking of her passing. And what a lot of people didn't realize was he was actually on stage. I think it was in North Carolina. He was on stage at the time when as the news was breaking. And I've seen Trump speak in person now twice. I've seen him speak twice. And when he takes the stage, he's on the stage for at least 2 hours. Mm-hmm. At least 2 hours. He fills 2 hours. He's funny. He's talking the entire time for 2 hours. And, I mean, just keeps going. And so he was on stage, and of course, nobody interrupted him. None of his handlers came out to whisper in his ear or anything like that. They figured, we'll just tell him afterwards. And as soon as he was done speaking, he left, you know, he walked off the stage and he's walking back to get in the motorcade. And this is, I have the clip of when he was confronted about Ruth Bader Ginsburg and when he first learns of it. And watch this. I thought this was a really cool moment with the president. And you know, here, you can just check it out for yourself. So you can actually hear Tiny Dancer. It begins to play in the background, which I thought was kind of neat, given that he's about ready to talk about RBG. But this is because he's just to the side of the large rally that was being held. So you can hear all of the music that's playing as people are departing the rally.
Yeah. She just died? Wow. I didn't know that. I just, you're telling me now for the first time. She led an amazing life. What else can you say? She was an amazing woman. Whether you agreed or not, she was an amazing woman who led an amazing life. I'm actually sad to hear that. I am sad to hear that. Thank you very much.
I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I thought it was amazing.
That's interesting. That's almost exactly what I was trying to emphasize when I lost, or you lost me in all that.
Yeah.
Was we're not allowed to actually recognize her as an amazing woman who did leave an amazing life,
Sure.
and was dedicated to serving her country in the best way she felt she could for 20 years, or 23 to 27 years, more than most people, career military men are in the service.
Yeah.
That's an amazing sign of dedication. Now, again, whether you agree with her policy and politics or not, we're not able to actually focus on that right now. Everybody's so laser focused on her replacement, who's going to do what, the politics behind it. The fact that she, a public servant, has passed is almost secondary.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah. It is sad. What I found a little amazing about that whole thing is there were a lot of people on the left who, after seeing that clip of the president, were actually taken aback, and people were saying, wow, I'm really surprised. Like, I'm impressed by the way he responded. And I'm thinking, and the whole time I'm reading these comments and I'm thinking, you have to get out of your bubble. Mm-hmm. You have to get out of your bubble. You really do. I mean, these people think that the man is just egregious. And yet we've got peace that's now happening in the Middle East. We have unprecedented peace deals that the Trump administration has negotiated, and it's completely changing the Middle East right now, assuming all of this holds up. The diplomats were in Washington, D.C. this past week, and they signed what were called the Lincoln Accords, which was to solidify these peace talks. And of course, the media's reaction to it was astonishment, because everybody on the White House lawn, they were sitting close together and many were not wearing masks. That's what they talked about.
That's what they focused on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that shocks me about this much.
Right. Right. Yeah. So
it's sad. And, I do believe that there was a point in this country where our media actually did real unbiased journalism. That time has long passed.
Yeah.
And anybody to say otherwise is just either completely ignorant or intentionally naive. But there is absolutely no unbiased media out there at this point. I mean, how can you actually look at a situation like what you're talking about, where we've got peace happening in a region of the world that has never been accomplished, attempted, and don't sit there and think for a minute that other presidents, other peacekeepers throughout our lifetime have not been trying to accomplish this very thing. They have. We have. Hasn't worked. The fact that was been done, that should be earth-shattering information that should be celebrated worldwide. And Benjamin Netanyahu actually made reference to that when he was talking about it. The fact that this is happening, whether we agree with one side or the other of politics, take a moment to set that aside and just rejoice in the peace that we have been able to accomplish as a world right now, as a species, and relish in it, because it is absolutely historic. And you have people from the news that can't get past wearing a mask on the White House lawn. That's what matters. That's what you think the American people give two shits about? I mean, come on.
So we're going to dive in. Yeah, we're going to dive into this in a little bit here, but I wanted to share something that I thought was pretty humorous here. I don't know if you know this, but the Emmys are going to take place tomorrow. Are you going to watch? Are you watching the Emmys? I don't think I've ever watched.
No.
I don't think I've ever actually watched the Emmys.
No,
I don't care.
I don't care.
They so I guess the Emmys are going to be virtual pretty much for the most part. So this is according to Screen Rant. I don't know if anybody's heard about this yet, but this was published today. According to Screen Rant, they do a lot of movie news. They talk about a lot of TV movie news. So they have a headline here: Emmys 2020 will hand out awards using tuxedo hazmat suits. Yeah. No, this is not the Babylon Bee. This is not the Onion. This is Screen Rant. Emmys 2020 will hand out awards using tuxedo hazmat suits. There are hazmat suits that are designed. They're black and white. Yeah, they have cuffs. And they got like a big rubber bow tie.
It just reminds me of the redneck tuxedo. The T-shirt with the tuxedo on the front.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what it looks like. Look, I'll show it to you. Here's a picture of it. Here's a picture of it.
You know,
Yeah.
it looks like the wacky whaley flailing arm swinging tube man, that you stick up on for like when you're selling cars out on the lot, and you got that little guy who's out there doing flailing his arms because it's got the fan blowing up. I swear that's what that looks like. Are they serious about this?
I thought it kind of looked like Dark Helmet
from Spaceballs.
From Spaceballs, yeah. Because didn't he have a tie? Didn't he have?
Yes, he had he had a tie. It was a plastic straight tie, not a bow tie, but
it wasn't a bow tie. Right. Yeah.
Oh my good Lord!
Yeah,
this can't be for realsies.
It says, in a move that should surprise no one who's been paying attention in 2020, the Emmys will be using tuxedo hazmat suits to hand out this year's award. Yeah. It goes on. If you want to know a little bit more, it says, this year's ceremony, which will be broadcast on Sunday night, September 20th, that's tomorrow, is already departing from tradition as a result of the coronavirus pandemic, hosting a virtual ceremony presented by Jimmy Kimmel. That's news for me to not watch. The unusual undertaking will see cameras reportedly go into the homes of nominated stars, with presenters also doing things remotely. I guess when the cameras go in, they're going to be wearing the hazmat suits. I don't know. The year's top nominees include Disney, blah, blah, blah. Who cares? Now EW reports that winners will be given their awards by presenters wearing custom-made tuxedo hazmat suits. The suits were designed by Katja Cahill. I have no idea who that is, who is known for her awards show work, and Guy Carrington, one of the executive producers of this year's Emmys. The suits will be worn by the presenters in an attempt to humorously acknowledge the pandemic and the strange situation of having a virtual awards ceremony. Yeah.
Wait, they're gonna make it more awkward?
Yeah.
So that it's fun. Okay.
Yeah. Judging by the rationale above, the suits are an attempt at lightening the mood of the event, which is taking place in the midst of a pandemic and just a few weeks before one of the most hard-fought elections in American history. Unfortunately, the little joke might end up backfiring on the Emmys. Kimmel has already acknowledged that this year's Emmys might be the lowest rated yet. You think?
You think?
Yeah, nobody's.
I don't get. But time out.
Nobody's watching.
If they really do think that the hazmat suits are going to play a big part in their poo-poo ratings, I got news for you. Your poo-poo ratings are happening because you're having a virtual ceremony, not because of a hazmat suit.
Yeah.
Which looks ridiculous. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Jimmy Kimmel said that the stunt could be seen as a crass attempt to get attention for the ceremony. Yeah, you think? The problem is that it could be accused of making light of the pandemic, a crisis that has already taken the lives of over 200,000 Americans. As such, the Emmys may find themselves up for even more criticism. Just a day after actor John Leguizamo called for a boycott of this year's ceremony due to what he calls Hollywood's cultural apartheid.
Attaboy.
No, there was one. The show seems to be treading a fine line between dark humor and a tasteless joke with the hazmat suit, and it remains to be seen how audiences will react to the stunt. Yeah, I think it's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Hollywood just can't stop being dumb.
I don't know if they just, you can tell me that that's a joke all you want. I think somebody was dead serious when they did that. Could you imagine if Outbreak, the movie, came out this year and was nominated? That's a dramatic irony right there.
Yeah. Here's another one you talk about irony? Okay, well, how about this one? With violent crime on the rise in Minneapolis, City Council asks, Where
are the police? I heard that, actually. Now, the funny part is, though, I thought that was a joke. They're serious. The City Council, actually, they've got carjackings in broad daylight.
Well,
and they're going, where are the police? They're ones that have defunded. They've already removed, was it $10 million just in the last 6 weeks, on top of the amount that they cut out of their budget 6 months ago. Yeah,
but now they're all freaked out because there's nobody, because they sent the message that look, we're getting rid of the police force. Council members told Chief Medaria Arredondo that their constituents are seeing and hearing street racing which sometimes results in crashes. No, really. Brazen daylight carjackings, robberies, assaults, and shootings. And they asked Arredondo what the department is doing about it. Well, nothing, because you pulled my budget.
Yeah.
So why should I?
You have openly threatened the cops, our officers. If I was the chief, I would say my officers, with not only their jobs and pensions, but also their livelihood. You've openly called for them and saying it's okay and support the idea that they can be assaulted by random citizens. And if any of those citizens are actually arrested for assaulting the police, we're going to actually let them out of jail. So it's a get out of jail free card for anybody who's actually harming the police officers. And then you want them to go out and actually try and enforce the laws while you're standing over them, criticizing them and threatening them, not only with their livelihood, but in some cases, they're up for prosecution. You're threatening them with their freedom and lives.
Right. And remember, there were all liberals all over the country saying, well, defunding the police doesn't mean defunding the police. Well, why are you saying defunding the police then, if that's not what you mean? And now they're surprised. Well, when we talked about defunding the police, we actually defunded the police. It's amazing how words mean things, and what happens, and the collective consciousness of people that, of course, criminals are going to be like, there's no police around. Let's have street racing in the daylight.
Let's do stuff. Yeah.
Let's do stuff. I mean, what did you expect was going to happen? And remember, we had Democrats all over the nation saying, well, we're going to actually take that money that police actually have, and we're going to move it over here and bring in social workers who will go out and engage with the community. I'm really sick and tired of the whole rainbows and unicorn. What world do you people live in? What world do you live in where you think social workers are going to go out and go door to door and they're going to stop people from doing daylight carjackings? Yeah,
they just need to be rationalized with and somebody to empathetically meet with them so that they can understand their plight. Because that's all this is. It's not about people being violent for the sake of being violent or for committing crimes for the sake of committing crimes because they know that there is no punishment. That can't be it. It must be, and it only can be because nobody is listening to their plight. And so if we have a social worker, a counselor go out and actually sit and talk with the poor and destitute amongst us, then there will be no crime because they'll be able to get that off their chest, and everybody will be happy, and we can all group hug, okay, and go home. No. It's interesting, though, the mayor of Minneapolis, is that not where we had all the police had to go hold up outside the mayor's house? Because after calling for the defunding of the police, the mayor's house was being attacked and trying to be raided. So,
well, I know that happened in Portland. It may have happened in Minneapolis.
I think it did there too.
I know that they chased out the mayor of Minneapolis at one of the initial rallies because he said he was not in favor of defunding the police, even though he's a Democrat, and so they booed him out of the drum circle that they were having there.
Drum circle.
Yeah, this is insane. We had, just a few days ago in New York City, Bill de Blasio had to furlough himself. He had to furlough himself because, everything shut down. Well, with Governor Cuomo over there putting COVID patients in nursing homes and killing off the elderly, everything was locked down and has been locked down in New York City for quite some time now. And well, if nobody is going into all of the skyscrapers and they're not working in the offices, well, then there's nobody around to visit the small restaurants and the various shops and the hot dog and coffee salesmen that are on the street corners and all of that. So those businesses are shutting down. They're not making any money. And as a consequence, the revenues of New York City they've plummeted. Mm-hmm. And New York City right now has like a $9 billion shortfall in revenue. And so the entire mayor's office, Bill de Blasio's office, has been furloughed for 1 week. Now, they're trying to, that's not to say that the mayor's office consumes $9 billion. I'm sure there's other furloughing that's happening across the city, but there are 500 people in the mayor's office that got furloughed. 500 people for the city of New York's mayor's office. That is insane. That is an insane amount of people working in the mayor's office. What the hell is happening in New York City?
Oh, it's crazy. You and I were talking about this. We were actually having a revenue and tax discussion.
Yeah.
But there's been a mass exodus before COVID. I mean, we go back to latter part of last year, we'll say. There's a mass exodus out of New York City already because they increased the taxes on the top 1% of earners in New York City. I think it was over $1 million.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Those people are the ones that actually pay 90% of New York City's tax revenue.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the realm of, I don't know, right around $9 billion worth. So the answer, and this is, I keep hearing this out of everywhere. Well, we have, in order to actually satisfy all of these programs, all of these impoverished programs, all these benefit programs, we need to increase the amount of taxes we charge on the rich so that everybody else and all the poor and destitute amongst us can get their fair share from the other people who are making all the money paying their fair share again. Well, guess what happened in New York? Everybody's leaving. People are going to New York, or to Texas. They're going to Florida. They're going to other states across the country where the tax dollars, or the tax revenue, is much more conducive to actually running a business and keeping the money that they've got. So New York's pushed a lot of their business out. Now they're operating in a deficit. So now what? What's going to happen? Well, pretty soon, they're going to start having to figure out how to come up with a $9 billion. Furloughing employees, I'm sorry, even in the mayor's office, which, yes, having 500 people in the friggin' mayor's office is absolutely bonkers. Yeah. I mean, if you really think about how many people that is, look at how many people work where you are. Right. I mean, even big companies don't have 500 employees in one place. You're talking about in the mayor's office. That's one little tiny part of the New York infrastructure. 500 people, that's gross overhead. But they're going to have to come up with this money somewhere, and I'm guaranteeing you right now what's going to be coming next is, even as stupid as they know it is, they're going to be talking about increasing the taxes on, guess who? Small business owners, property owners. If you make, hey, maybe $1 million isn't quite good enough, we're going to drop that down to $750,000 a year. And what is that going to do? It's not going to increase your revenue. It's going to increase the amount of people getting the frick out of New York City. And then all those high rises, all those apartments where you pay a $1 million for a 1-bedroom or studio apartment in New York, they're going to wake up and go, for that, I can go out to, as sad as it may sound, Arizona, and I can buy, for $1 million, I can buy a 6-bedroom house with 3 bathrooms, a theater, 9 acres of land, and hire 20 people to come work all of it for me so I don't have to. I mean, what that kind of money will get you in other places outside of that area where you're not getting taxed out the wazoo for it, it's insane. And look, there's a common thread. There's places besides New York that have the same makeup. Look at California, and I mean Southern California. I'm sorry for all of you people up in Northern California that really wish you had a different state representation up there. I really do apologize for you. But you look at LA, San Diego, those places have the same problems. The exact same. They're running at deficits out of revenue. They're increasing taxes all over the place. People are fleeing California just like New York and going to other places. And I'm telling you, Arizona better wake up, because there's another tax initiative coming up on the ballot here soon. And they're doing the same thing they always do when they want to take more of your money. They're saying it's going to the children.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to go to kids.
Proposition 208 here in
208.
208.
Yep. And what that is going to do, it's going to send the tax revenue for small businesses and anybody making money over $250,000, which is actually not very much if you're a business owner. Keeping in mind the Arizona tax code, if you own the business revenue is your individual revenue. If the business made money, you made over $250,000. And the tax revenue is actually is going to jump up. I think it was something ridiculous, like 84%. It was insane. And if that happens, Arizona economy is going to tank. I'm warning you right now. Don't just see it's for the kids and vote yes. Pay attention to what you're doing.
It'll pass. I guarantee you it'll pass because all of these things pass. And I'm sick of it because every single election here in Arizona, there is always a new measure. There's always a new ballot measure to increase education funding. Every 2 years, there's always one, and they always pass. And I'm sick of it. These people are like vampires. It's never good enough. We can't even get 2 years. We can't even go 2 years without educators saying, well, we need more money. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. No, I'm voting no on Prop 208. Whoa, but I got some craziness with Joe Biden here.
Okay.
I have some.
Okay, I'll pause. I needed a breath anyway.
Yeah, I have some craziness with Joe Biden, and the reason why is because we're gonna talk about the CDC timeline here. We're gonna talk about the Trump timeline.
Oh, okay. Good.
With COVID, you know, Biden has been out the last few days, and he started saying, well, even prior to that, a few weeks ago, he started saying how if only Trump had said things earlier, if only Trump had taken action earlier in the year, like back in January, then, you know, we would be in a much different place with regard to COVID. If I were president, I would have done things differently. He never says what he would do. He just says that President Trump didn't take action. He even went so far as to say that Trump never talked about it during his State of the Union speech, which he did. President Trump did talk about it during the State of the Union address. And these are things that the media could actually easily fact check him on, but they refuse to do their job.
Well, no, it's not a refusal. It's an absolute acceptance, and they do not want to fact check any of that.
They don't want to.
But I will argue with you on one point, and you'll probably hit it in the timeline. But so if I'm jumping ahead, I apologize because you don't share show notes with me, so you get what you get. He actually did once. I mean, he talked about what he would quote unquote do differently. When President Trump actually put the travel ban in place, he actually talked about how he saw it differently because he called it fear mongering. He called it an over dramatization for attention, etc. He actually said it was a bunch of BS while Trump had already enacted the travel ban.
Yeah, but see, that's not actually saying what you're going to do. That's just Monday morning quarterbacking is all that is. But so here, you know, I have a buddy that I talk politics with all the time. He still lives there in Flagstaff. He's not you. No, not you.
I was like, what?
He's actually a closet. He's a closet conservative who's a liberal because, well, his wife's a teacher. And when you know somebody, when you share a household with somebody who's a teacher, well, then you kind of have to just kind of go along to get along, which I totally get. it. So, you know, we banter back and forth all the time. I don't even know where I was going with that, but I remember where I was going with that. And what my point in all that, my point in all that is I always have to remind him, I'm like, dude, everything in politics is scripted. Everything that happens in politics, you have this team behind you who says, hey, when you step out in front of the cameras, I want you to do this. Or as soon as the camera comes in your face, the first question, it doesn't matter what the question is, the first thing you need to say is this. Okay. Everything is scripted. Every little thing is scripted. Somebody told Biden, hey, when you get off this plane, I want you to look over to look out and then wave. Look out and wave, because the cameras are going to be there.
Is this the cornfield?
Yes, the cameras are going to be there, and we want to catch you waving. So somebody told him that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
somebody
I know
had to have told him that.
They did. They wanted to show him waving to the crowd of people
Yes.
to the right.
And-
However,
and
they
watch,
weren't
check it out.
expecting
Check it out.
this.
Check
Yeah.
it out. Here it goes. He gets off. Hi. Hey. Hey. There's nobody
There's
out there.
nobody back there.
There's
Yeah, I know.
nobody back there. He got
Mhm.
off and he waved to nobody.
Yeah.
Somebody told him, "Hey, wave, just wave."
Just wave. It's gonna be. We want to make it look like we've got hundreds of people who've come out to see you.
Yeah.
But so just wave out that way. There's
Yeah.
not gonna be. But you know what? Do the finger point thing. Everybody likes that.
Do the finger
Hey, you.
point.
I recognize you. You're my buddy. How's
Yeah.
it going? I remember you. You were at the last place I stopped in, Cleveland or Pittsburgh or wherever that was. I don't know. Somebody forgot to tell me when I landed.
This is a favorite one. This is one that this is the Democrats starting to let the cat out of the bag. They're basically now saying what they're not supposed to be saying. Listen to Kamala Harris.
To make sure you have a president in the White House who actually sees you, who understands your needs, who understands the dignity of your work, and who has your back. A Harris administration together with Joe Biden.
Wait, what?
Whoa.
What was that?
Whoa. Oops. Oops, a daisy.
Administration together with Joe Biden as the president.
A Harris administration.
There it is.
A Harris administration together with Joe Biden as the president of the
Mm-hmm. Well, we talked a little bit about this last week? I think it was that he's not. I actually made the point. There's no way he's going anywhere to meet with any diplomats, any ambassadors, anyone.
He
can't do it.
He can't do it.
So they're already planning on sending everyone and anyone else but him to anywhere.
Yeah. So we talked about how Biden was saying Trump hasn't had a plan. He's never had a plan about COVID and how to deal with COVID. All right. So we're gonna break it down.
Okay.
You ready for this?
I probably not, but go for it anyway.
All right. January 3rd, 2020, CDC Director Robert Redfield sent an email to the director of the Chinese CDC, George Gao, formally offering to send U.S. experts to China to investigate the coronavirus. January 5th, CDC Director Redfield sent another email to the Chinese CDC Director, George Gao, formally offering to send U.S. experts to China to investigate the coronavirus outbreak. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's just Robert Redfield. He's just sending emails. What big whoop? What big whoop? Well, he's working for the CDC, which means he does ultimately report to the President of the United States. So the administration is beginning things as early as January 3rd. January 6th, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued a level 1 travel notice for Wuhan, China, due to the spreading coronavirus. On January 7th, the CDC established a coronavirus incident management system to better share and respond to information about the virus. January 11th, the CDC updated a level 1 travel health notice for Wuhan, China. January 17th, the CDC began implementing public health entry screening at the 3 U.S. airports that received the most travelers from Wuhan: San Francisco, New York JFK, and Los Angeles. And I don't know if you remember this, but during this time, this early to mid-January, when all this was happening, Trump was being accused of racism because of this.
Right.
All of this was considered racist.
Yes. How dare he? To institute a travel ban was absolutely racist. It was insensitive. It was segregatory. He was being a dictator. Yeah, absolutely remember all of that.
Yeah. January 20th, Dr. Fauci announces the National Institutes of Health is already working on the development of a vaccine for the coronavirus. January 21st, 2020, the CDC activated its Emergency Operations Center to provide ongoing support to the coronavirus response. January 23rd, the CDC sought a special emergency authorization from the FDA to allow states to use its newly developed coronavirus test. January 27th, President Trump tweeted that he made an offer to President Xi Jinping to send experts to China to investigate the coronavirus outbreak. So now we're coming up to the end of January. There's a flurry of activity that is happening at the CDC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
An absolute flurry of activity. January 27th, the CDC issued a level 3 travel health notice urging Americans to avoid all non-essential travel to China due to the coronavirus. January 27th, the White House Coronavirus Task Force started meeting to help monitor and contain the spread of the virus and provide updates to the president. January 29th, the White House announced the formation of the Coronavirus Task Force to help monitor and contain the spread of the virus and provide updates to the president. So the day when President Trump announced it, announced the formation of that task force, the task force was already working 2 days prior. Okay. January 31st.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I think this is a point of order, if I may. So we have twice, as far as I can see it, where the president has actually informed the public, whether through, tweet number 1, or his actual formal announcement of this formation of the coronavirus task force, about what has been going on. Now, keeping in mind, this task force was formed on the 27th of January. He announced it on the 29th. 48 hours later.
Correct.
Okay. Now, one of the many accusations I've heard is that he has not been transparent.
Correct.
So far, I'm seeing a president actually talking to the public about what's going on far more than what we had during swine flu or SARS. That was not really talked about. Not until it was way blown up. Am I crazy in that, or am I reading the timeline correctly?
I think you're just racist.
Oh, okay, that must be it. Continue.
Yeah, I think you're just racist. January 31st, the Trump administration declared the coronavirus a public health emergency, announced Chinese travel restrictions, suspended entry into the United States for foreign nationals who pose a risk of transmitting the coronavirus. January
2 days later.
Yeah. January 31st, the Department of Homeland Security took critical steps to funnel all flights from China into just 7 domestic U.S. airports. What had Democrats done at this point as of January 31st? Impeachment. February 2nd, the CDC expanded enhanced entry screening to 8 major airports across the nation. February 3rd, the CDC had a team ready to travel to China to obtain critical information on the novel coronavirus, but were in the U.S. awaiting permission to enter by the Chinese government. February 4th, President Trump vowed in his State of the Union address to take all necessary steps to protect Americans from the coronavirus. February 5th, the Trump administration and health officials briefed lawmakers on the federal government's coronavirus response efforts. Look, another briefing for lawmakers. February 6th, the CDC began shipping CDC-developed test kits for the 2019 novel coronavirus to U.S. and international labs. February 7th, President Trump told reporters that the CDC is working with China on the coronavirus. A lot of transparency happening here. Now, yeah. I will admit, when we were initially developing these tests, it was rapid development. Mm-hmm. Now, were these tests awesome right out of the gate? No, they weren't awesome right out of the gate.
No.
But we had to start somewhere. Sure. We had to get something started. And the only way you get something started is by getting something out there and then iterating on it and finding out what's working. But hopefully you're able to do something with it. So was it perfect? No, they weren't perfect. But it was better than nothing.
Look at what we've got. From January 6th to February 6th, we have tests developed, created, manufactured, verified, and on their way to China. That's pretty impressive, frankly.
February 7th, continuing February 7th, is the day that Trump told Woodward that the coronavirus is, quote, more deadly than even your strenuous flus, unquote. He knows it's a serious issue, and he's already done quite a bit to protect the American people. Because that whole Woodward thing, people are saying, well, he just didn't care. No, just the opposite. No. February 9th, the White House Coronavirus Task Force briefed governors from across the nation at the National Governors Association meeting in Washington. February 11th, the Department of Health and Human Services expanded a partnership with Janssen Research and Development to, quote, expedite the development, unquote, of a coronavirus vaccine. February 12th, the US shipped test kits for the 2019 novel coronavirus to approximately 30 countries who lacked the necessary reagents and other materials. So Trump is already helping a big portion of the world to deal with this.
Right.
Also, February 12th, the CDC was prepared to travel to China, but had yet to receive permission from the Chinese government. February 14th, Valentine's Day, the CDC began working with 5 labs to conduct a community-based influenza surveillance to study and detect the spread of coronavirus. February 18th, HHS announced it would engage with Sanofi Pasteur in an effort to quickly develop a coronavirus vaccine and to develop treatment for coronavirus infections. February 22nd, a WHO team of international experts arrives in Wuhan, China. February 24th, the Trump administration sent a letter to Congress requesting at least $2.5 billion to help combat the spread of the coronavirus. Incidentally, this is the same day that Speaker Pelosi was telling constituents to come on down to Chinatown.
Come on down to Chinatown, right.
It's fantastic. February 25th, HHS Secretary Azar testified before the Senate Help Committee on the administration's coronavirus response efforts. February 26th, President Trump discussed coronavirus containment efforts with Indian Prime Minister Modi and updated the press on his administration's containment efforts in the US during his state visit to India. February 29th, the Food and Drug Administration allowed certified labs to develop and begin testing coronavirus testing kits while reviewing pending applications. I have to say, getting anything approved by the FDA is ridiculous. And one of the things that Trump did during this time frame is he suspended a lot of the regulations so that it didn't take as long.
Correct.
February 29th, the Trump administration announced a level 4 travel advisory to areas of Italy and South Korea. Also, that was considered racist. He barred all travel to Iran. Also was considered racist. Barred the entry of foreign citizens who visited Iran in the last 14 days. He called that racist as well. They called that racist as well. March 3rd, the CDC lifted federal restrictions on coronavirus testing to allow any American to be tested for coronavirus, subject to doctor's orders. There were restrictions up until this point.
There were.
Because, quite frankly, there just were not a lot of tests. So they were going to, it's a scarce resources. You had to get them to where they were most needed. So most people could not get a test at the time up until this point. March 3rd, the White House announced President Trump donated his 4th quarter salary to fight the coronavirus.
Not been heard of a word in the media.
No.
Not a word. I bet
Not a
you
word.
most people out there, and even in the sound of my voice, didn't even know that.
Oh.
Didn't know that.
This was also the day after New York City mayor told New Yorkers to go to the movies, even offering recommendations. New York had its first confirmed case of COVID on the same day Bill de Blasio told people to hit theaters. And here's his tweet. Bill de Blasio, since I'm encouraging New Yorkers to go on with their lives, plus get out on the town despite coronavirus, I thought I would offer some suggestions. Here's the first. Through Thursday, 3/5, go see The Traitor at FilmLink. If The Wire was a true story, plus set in Italy, it would be this film. But now, what are they saying? It was terrible. The coronavirus was
terrible.
awful.
Yep.
March 4th, the Trump administration announced the purchase of approximately 500 million N95 respirators over the next 18 months to respond to the outbreak of the novel coronavirus. March 4th, Secretary Azar announced that HHS was transferring $35 million to the CDC to help state and local communities that have been impacted most by the coronavirus. March 6th, President Trump signed an $8.3 billion bill to fight the coronavirus outbreak. The bill provides $7.76 billion to federal, state, and local agencies to combat the coronavirus and authorizes an additional $500 million in waivers for Medicare telehealth restrictions. But remember,
he wasn't doing anything.
He wasn't doing anything.
Right.
March 9th.
And didn't take it seriously.
Remember that. March 9th, President Trump called on Congress to pass a payroll tax cut over coronavirus. March 10th, President Trump and VP Pence met with top health insurance companies and secured a commitment to waive copays for coronavirus testing. It's amazing that right after this time period, after all of this federal money was flooding into the states for coronavirus, And now health insurance companies were waiving copays for coronavirus. It's amazing how the numbers began to jump.
Yeah.
You know, incentives and all of that. March 11th,
Right.
President Trump announced travel restrictions on foreigners who had visited Europe in the last 14 days. That was also considered racist. Directed the SBA to issue low interest, SBA stands for Small Business Association, to issue low interest loans to affected small businesses, and called on Congress to increase this fund by $50 billion. Also, March 11th, directed the Treasury Department to defer tax payments for affected individuals and businesses and provide $200 billion in additional liquidity. Met with American bankers at the White House to discuss coronavirus. On March 13th, President Trump declared a national emergency in order to access $42 billion in existing funds to combat the coronavirus. March 13th, President Trump announced public-private partnerships to open up drive-through testing collection sites, a pause on interest payments on federal student loans, an order to the Department of Energy to purchase oil for the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. On March 13th, the Food and Drug Administration granted Roche AG an emergency approval for automated coronavirus testing kits, issued an emergency approval to Thermo Fisher for a coronavirus test within 24 hours of receiving the request. That's unheard of.
That's insane.
Absolutely insane. On March 13th, HHS announced funding for the development of 2 new rapid diagnostic tests, which would be able to detect coronavirus in approximately 1 hour. March 14th, the coronavirus relief bill passed the House of Representatives.
Stop.
Yep.
Stop. New diagnostic rapid testing. Keep in mind, these are the same ones we are using right now. You were just talking about our first batch of testing, and were they perfect? No. Did we need to get them out? Yes. Did we make improvements on them? Absolutely. Time frame. That was February 9th, I believe. We're here at March 13th. Less than 30 days.
It's unheard of.
It's insane.
In 1 month for that kind of leap in just development.
In technology, and especially medical technology. I can tell you, you can develop technology for any other sector any other sector in existence. That technology can move forward. When it comes to medical technology, there are thousands of hurdles you have to get through.
Yeah.
This kind of normal testing development and improvement would normally take years. And I mean years to get through. So anyway, continue.
March 14th, the Trump administration announced the European travel ban will extend to the UK and Ireland, also considered racist. March 15th, President Trump had a phone call with over 24 grocery store executives to discuss ongoing demand for food and other supplies. By this time, people were getting ready. They were starting to buy toilet paper.
Toilet paper. Yep.
March 15th, HHS announced it is projected to have 1.9 million COVID-19 tests available in 2,000 labs this week. March 15th, Google announced a partnership with the Trump administration to develop a website dedicated to coronavirus education, prevention, and local resources. Also on the 15th, all 50 states were contacted through FEMA to coordinate federally supported state-led efforts to end coronavirus. March 16th, President Trump held a teleconference with governors to discuss coronavirus preparedness and response, participated in a call with G7 leaders who committed to increasing coordination in response to the coronavirus and restoring global economic confidence. This is insane. Mm-hmm. He's working with governors so that they can work. Here's the important thing to remember. You don't want Washington, D.C. making decisions down at the local level.
Well, you can't. Our government is not set up that way.
But you don't even want that to happen. They're too far removed from the problem.
Correct.
They're too far removed because Phoenix is a completely different landscape, not just in terms of geography, but also in terms of people and the way information and people flow through the city. It's far different than a place like Chicago or a place like Tampa or a place like Seattle. You can't have central planning. It's going to fail. So he's working with the governors so that the governors can figure out what's best for their states.
Yeah. And that's the way our government's set up. And our states are different. Our demographics are different. Our makeups are different. That is the way our government system is set up to work. You cannot have a dictator dictating to the entire country how it's going to go. It's not the way it happens. It's not the way it should happen. And trust me, you don't want it that way either.
And you don't want it that way. Also, March 16th, announced the first potential vaccine for coronavirus has entered a phase 1 trial in a record amount of time.
That's insane.
Yeah. Announced 15 days to slow the spread coronavirus guidance. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Remember 15 days to slow the spread?
15 days to slow the spread. Yep.
It wasn't supposed to be shut down.
That was no, but that
wasn't
was the
shut
idea
down until a cure. Right.
Correct. Yeah.
That
was where everybody got the idea. If we just kind of chilled out, held up for 2 weeks, we were good.
Right. And at this point, toilet paper became rarer than diamonds.
Yeah. Yeah. If you could wipe your butt with diamonds, you'd be better off, because you could probably get them cheaper too.
Because everybody in the country immediately thought, I need to shit. That was where our minds went to.
I still, having lived
through
it, to this day, don't understand why toilet paper. What was I cannot wrap my head around it. Dude, what is toilet? I had to go. You can't make masks out of toilet paper. And what are we doing now, or could we have been doing then, that toilet paper was going to save the world? I still don't understand. I lived it, and I don't get it. One of these days, my daughter is going to be reading about COVID-19 in the history books, and she's going to ask me about it and ask me, why was there a scarce supply of toilet paper? I'm going to go, because stupid people be crazy. That's all I got.
I remember one of these days, it was like right around this time, I had to go to Fry's at 7:00 in the morning so that I could get some toilet paper, because the world had gone insane. Okay. And I wanted like one package. And I remember getting in there, and they were opening the box. And I'm standing there waiting, and I look over, and there's another dude about my age. He looks over at me, and we both had that look like
that moment.
Yeah. You both had that look. We're looking at each other like, somebody else in our household is forcing us to be here, right? Yeah, right. Yeah.
We have ladies at home. It's not about us.
Right. And it was like, yeah. I mean, it was like abject failure, right? Like two men standing there at 7:00 at 7 a.m. in the morning at Fry's, waiting for them to open the box of ass paper.
You're like a pack of dogs ready to pounce on a three-legged cat.
Right. And it's like, this is what has become of our lives. Like, this is reality. This is,
This is the world we live in. We're not fighting over the prettiest maid in the tribe anymore. Right. We're fighting over poop paper.
Right. And we both just kind of looked at each other like, yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, this is stupid.
This is really stupid.
Yeah. Okay.
March 16th. The FDA announced it was empowering states to authorize tests developed and used by labs in their states. March 16th, Assistant Secretary of Health confirmed the availability of 1 million coronavirus tests and projected 2 million tests available the next week and 5 million the following. Wasn't it about this time, or maybe it was in April? I don't remember. It's all a blur to me now. But I think it was around this time when the supposed experts were saying that we're not going to be able to open up at all. We're not going to be able to come out of this 15 days to slow the spread thing until we can do something like, it was something like 2 million tests per day.
Oh yeah. They were trying to calculate how many people they would have to test nationwide, at least, is where they were focusing, before they could ensure that everybody had been effectively isolated long enough that the virus wasn't able to spread anywhere else.
Right.
And I think you were right. I think it was about this time. It was about 2 million a day, somewhere in there.
Something like 2 million, 5 million a day that we were going to have to get to. And everybody was going to have to constantly be tested. Like, they wanted it ramped up where you would have to go every couple of days and get tested. And it's stupid. Stupidity. The stupidity is just, it's just, Oh, my God. On March 17th, President Trump announced CMS will expand telehealth benefits for Medicare beneficiaries. Relevant Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act penalties will not be enforced. The Army Corps of Engineers is on standby to assist federal state governments. March 17th. We're only at March. We're only mid-March right now.
Yeah, we're in mid-March. Yep. Mm-hmm.
President Trump spoke to fast food executives from Wendy's, McDonald's, and Burger King to discuss drive-through services recommended by CDC. Okay, I have a bone to pick with this.
Okay, go ahead.
The stupidest...
I've heard something like this before, but go ahead.
The dumbest thing happening right now is this whole thing about contactless delivery, right?
Uh-huh.
I see commercials like, come to McDonald's. We do contactless, contactless delivery of your food, which means you walk up.
Pizza Hut, all the pizza places are contactless delivery. Right.
We're just going to it'll be there. It will we'll teleport it, beam it onto this platform. Right. And now you can rest assured that the idiot who's right there at the counter didn't touch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or the driver who actually threw it in the passenger seat of his car,
right,
who's been hotboxing himself in his car all day, taking food all over the place.
Right. Huffing his own farts.
And who's got the bag or your box, is running it up to your door and sets it down and goes, thank you.
Right.
You're going to pick the box or the bag up.
So you're going to magically beam my bag, my sausage McMuffin with egg onto this little countertop for me. But there were 5 people in the back who touched my food. Yeah. Why is this okay? But I'm just supposed to ignore all of the other BS that's happening?
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That doesn't matter. Don't look at that. It's only what you can see. Right? It's only what you can see.
It's ridiculous. It is
Well, of course it's ridiculous.
It pisses me off.
This whole thing is ridiculous. None of this is supposed to actually do anything.
It's supposed to just make you feel
all of this is supposed to make you feel
warm and fuzzy,
like we're doing something.
Yeah,
because we don't know what we can do.
We're not doing anything. Did I tell this story of when I went to Bookman's? Did I tell you this story?
Yes, with the face shield and the mask.
Yeah, and
I swear I am gonna go buy. I'm gonna find it. Actually, I've seen them. I poked around online. I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna get the straight up hazmat suit from Outbreak with the 3-sided plexiglass face and the hose and the yellow hood, and I'm gonna buy it and I'm gonna just wear it around. And I'm gonna wear it around and I'm gonna give dirty looks to everybody else in a mask going, "Where's your suit?" Because that's how stupid this is.
You need a hazmat suit, like a tuxedo.
Yes. No, I don't want a tuxedo. I want obnoxious yellow so people can see me from a mile away.
March 17th, Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin met with lawmakers to discuss stimulus measures to relieve the economic burden of coronavirus on certain industries, businesses, and American workers. March 17th, Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue announced a partnership between USDA, Baylor University, McLean Global, and PepsiCo to provide 1 million meals per week to rural children in response to widespread school closures. March 17th, Treasury, this is...
Oh, dang, I thought we were going to get by it too. Go ahead.
When
When did our school system become a daycare where it's going to provide them food and all? Yeah.
Yeah. When did that happen? I get that there are, I grew up poor too. I didn't have anything. I grew up in South Phoenix. We still had food in the refrigerator. Now, it wasn't expensive food. Sometimes it was a tortilla that you'd put like peanut butter on, but it was food.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, I didn't get school lunches. I mean, if we did, it's because mom gave me $1, and I went, look at I get a lunch. I get to buy lunch.
Yes, and if you forgot your lunch or you forgot money to buy your lunch, you were effed.
Yeah,
you were sitting. You were hey, do you want to trade Twinkie? Can I have that?
Hey, you want your milk? No, the chocolate one. Okay.
My mom would send me to school with a thermos of chicken noodle soup, one of those little boxes of raisins, and a little baggie of graham crackers, right?
Uh-huh.
That's a pretty decent lunch, actually.
Yeah.
When you think about it, that's actually pretty decent. And there were other kids. I went to an elementary school from like 2nd through 5th grade, and they didn't have a cafeteria, so you had to bring your lunch.
Oh, I was going to say most people went to an elementary school from 2nd to 5th grade.
Well, no,
that's
the
what
point
those
being,
are called.
The point being that there was no cafeteria, and of course all of the other kids would sit there. We'd have to eat lunch in our classrooms because we didn't have a cafeteria, and the other kids would have like Twinkies or bag of Doritos.
Oh yeah,
and they're all trading. They're bartering, and I'm like,
no. Everybody just kind of looks over at Lucy's lunch and like, we're good.
Some raisins. Half your
I'll
Twinkie.
Trade you my raisins for half your Twinkie.
Dude,
actually, I just want to smell it.
Me. Yeah.
That's my daughter. My poor daughter. We send her. I kid you not. She goes with a fruit, and if she's lucky, it's a fruit cup. Otherwise, it's like an apple cut up in slices. That maybe some meat, like rolled up or something like that. She's got a meat, a protein, or beans in case if we don't have meat, we just beans, and a vegetable. When's the last time you had a 4-year-old open up their lunch and there's literally green beans and a spoon, or corn or peas? We send her with peas. I can only imagine
terrible.
what the
You are terrible.
We are. We're awful. Poor child.
And I love it.
I know other kids got like Lunchables and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, they got all kinds of stupid crap.
Not my daughter. Even on Wednesday's pizza day, she gets a slice of pizza. But if she didn't take her yogurt and her banana and her vegetable first, she didn't get her pizza.
Now, when I got into junior high, we actually had a cafeteria, and you remember when you'd go to the cafeteria and you'd get that slice of pizza. It was pizza day, and it was like a piece of cardboard with melted.
Oh, it was terrible.
Cheese on it,
and it was amazing.
It was amazing
because it was the best thing you had all week long.
Oh my god, it's pizza day!
It's pizza day. Yep. Or those French bread pizzas that. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember those. Yep.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that was good stuff. All right. So,
March 17th.
Back to isolation.
March 17th, Treasury Department contributed $10 billion through Economic Stabilization Fund to the Federal Reserve's Commercial Paper Funding Facility. Deferred $300 billion in tax payments for 90 days without penalty, up to $1 million for individuals, $10 million for business, which is unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely unheard of. March 17th, still, the Department of Defense announced it will make available to HHS up to 5 million respirator masks and 2,000 ventilators. That doesn't happen without the president's involvement.
Correct.
At least working with his various, representatives and secretaries and et cetera.
And this is from which department?
Department of Defense.
Department of
to
Defense.
the Health and Homeland, HHS.
Yeah. So yeah, that is by order of the president.
Yeah. March 18th, President Trump signed the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, which provides free testing and paid sick leave for workers impacted by the coronavirus. March 18th, President Trump announced temporary closure of the U.S.-Canada border to non-essential traffic, plans to invoke the Defense Production Act in order to increase the number of necessary supplies needed to combat coronavirus. FEMA has been activated in every region at its highest level of response. The U.S. Navy will deploy USNS Comfort and USNS Mercy hospital ships. All foreclosures and evictions will be suspended for a period of time. That was all. That was just March 18th, and we're still not done with March 18th.
Yeah, yeah.
March 18th, still, Secretary of Defense Mark Esper confirmed 1 million masks are now immediately available. The Army Corps of Engineers is in New York consulting on how to best assist state officials. March 18th, HHS temporarily suspended a regulation that prevents doctors from practicing across state lines. So doctors could, a doctor here in Arizona could fly to New York and actually assist.
Correct.
March 18th, President Trump spoke to doctors, physicians, and nurses on the front lines containing the spread of coronavirus. 130 CEOs of the Business Roundtable to discuss on ongoing public-private partnerships in response to the coronavirus pandemic. On March 19th, President Trump announced very encouraging progress shown by anti-malarial drug hydroxychloroquine for fighting coronavirus, at which point the left and the media, but I repeat myself, lost their minds.
Yep, it did.
And as a result, we had governors who were banning the use of hydroxychloroquine. Governors were writing executive orders to prohibit pharmacists from prescribing it. Mm-hmm. Of which those states secretly rolled that ban back, by the way.
They did roll that back. Because unfortunately that's used in quite a bit of other medications. And there were a handful of people who died because they couldn't get the medication that they needed for life-sustaining treatment, not because they had coronavirus, but because they had malaria. Not get their medication because it actually had hydroxychloroquine in it. Mm-hmm. So continue.
Carnival lines. This is still March 19th. Carnival cruise lines will make ships available for use as hospitals in impacted areas to use for non-coronavirus patients. Again, that doesn't happen without the administration's negotiations. March 19th, Vice President Pence announced tens of thousands of ventilators have been identified that can be converted to treat patients. March 19th, the State Department issued a global level 4 health advisory telling Americans to avoid all international travel due to coronavirus. On March 19th, President Trump directed FEMA to take the lead on the federal government's coronavirus response and visited FEMA HQ with Vice President Pence for a call with governors. March 19th was the day that real Donald Trump, that's his Twitter handle, told Woodward, this is the big one. He told Woodward, I quote, I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down because I don't want to create a panic. So Trump has done all of this stuff. And now he has finally said, yeah, I'm trying to play it down as much as I can when I'm in front of people because I don't want to create a panic.
Right.
And yet I'm supposed to be knowing all of this, knowing all of these steps, knowing that, of course, a leader's not supposed to light their own hair on fire and run around screaming that the earth is falling.
You don't go up to the camera and go, oh my God, we're all gonna die.
Right. You don't do
that's
that.
not who you want running the country.
You want someone going, who's stable.
Okay, we're working on this. This is what we're doing. These are the steps we're taking.
Right.
We're making progress day by day. We're working on it. Be calm. Try and take it easy. This is what I need you to do. This is what we're going to do. That's what I want. That's who the American people want leading the dang country, is somebody who's actually going, okay, we're getting a handle on this. This is what we're doing. And as far, again, to reiterate one more time, we're up to March 19th.
And that's where this list ends.
Okay. Where has there been any act of non-transparency, of keeping everything behind closed doors, not telling the American public the truth? Don't see it.
Yeah. The media is lying. This is why this is why I despise the media, because they continue to beat this drum. All of this is public information that any journalist worth his or her salt could easily dig up. If the real story about what is happening was being told, Trump's approval rating now is up to 53%, and it's continuing to rise as we get closer and closer to the election. Can you imagine if the vitriol if the press, I'm not even saying that they have to be nice. I'm just saying if they checked their bias on their reporting.
You mean if they were being fair?
If all they did was just simply report the news and were not trying to influence through the news. If they were just simply reporting on what has happened, I believe that Trump's approval numbers would probably be up into this in the 75% range. Because you would,
I think that would absolutely be true. But more than that, I think that the news organizations' approval ratings and their ratings would actually be better as well.
absolutely.
People are
Absolutely.
turning off the frickin' news. I mean, they are.
Yeah.
They're looking for their news sources in other places. They're doing it online. They're going through, the Epoch Times. Their ratings have gone through the roof, actually. Their subscription rating has gone way up. Wall Street Journal is bankrupt. The New York Slimes is just, I mean, it practically doesn't exist. And yet, I mean, people don't know, those two companies are running in bankruptcy, and they have been for a while. But who is heralded on CNN and C-SPAN and MSNBC? It's those two publications. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You probably know this, but is it MSNBC? No, CNN. Their main editor is actually the main editor for the Wall Street Journal as well. Is that correct? Do I have those two linked together correctly? So why, if it's my job as running CNN to actually get ratings up, what publication am I going to promote on my news feed? Well, the Wall Street Journal. Well, if I'm and I'm going to actually try and plug CNN as best I can. Why do you think they talk about each other constantly? It's a business, you guys. It's not news.
No.
It's entertainment. If it gets you all jazzed up, scared, frightened, excited, happy, whatever that is, that's their job.
Yeah. All right. We have to jump back to the RBG.
Okay, let's go.
You know, we talked about her dying at the beginning of the show. But what we didn't talk about is the fiasco of should the seat be filled or not?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I know there's a play back and forth, and unfortunately, again, we're talking about somebody who's passed, but we're going to be focusing, and we will be focusing, not we as in Fusion Underground here, but the whole country is going to be focusing largely in part on that over the next 2 months for sure. Do I think it should be filled immediately? Yes. Do I understand why some people are saying they want to hold off? Yeah. I would actually be, if I were on the Democratic ticket, I would be trying to push to get it filled pretty quick too, but I would be pushing my candidate as fast as possible. The problem is, I think that for the Democrats, their number one contender for that seat, well, she's running as Joe Biden's running mate right now. But I think she was a big contender for that chair when, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting his name now? We just confirmed him.
Kavanaugh,
thank you. She was a big contender for that seat.
Are you talking about Kamala Harris?
Yes, sir, I am. I think Kamala Harris would be a number one pick for the Democrats to push in. Well, you can't do that right now. She can't be VP and go in the Supreme Court.
If there were, well, so here's the thing, right? In 2016, there was a Supreme Court seat that was open, and we had a ton of Democrats saying, well, they were basically yelling at the GOP, saying to confirm and listen to Barack Obama's, nominee and vote on Barack Obama's nominee. This was Merrick Garland.
Right.
Now, since Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, there have been a number of people that have gone on the record, have basically been screaming, saying, well, is Mitch McConnell going to adhere to the McConnell rule about SCOTUS seats in an election year? The problem is most of these people that are talking, they have no idea what the McConnell rule is. And really, the McConnell rule isn't really a McConnell rule. It's just political reality. So here's what the McConnell rule says. McConnell said that you shouldn't vote on a SCOTUS nomination until after the November election, when the Senate and the White House are controlled by opposite parties. That's not necessarily a rule per se. It's smart politics.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's face it, if the Democrats had control of the Senate right now,
oh, it'd be a push like crazy.
They wouldn't have to. The point being is, if Trump was Trump is in the White House, he's president. Now imagine, just for the sake of argument, that the Senate is controlled by the Democrats. They don't have to listen to the nominee. They don't have to do anything, because the Senate has to vote to confirm. So even if Trump offers up a nomination, the Senate would just sit on it and wait to see what happens. That's what they would do. That's not a rule. That's just the Senate majority playing politics with the president. With the president. That's it. That's all that is. Okay. And Barack Obama did offer up a nomination. And I have an entire set of tweets by people by Democrats who were basically saying, who were calling out the Republicans back in 2016 and saying, you have to vote to confirm. And now, 4 years later, 5 years later, however long it's been, they have completely reversed their thinking on all of this.
Well, absolutely.
Now they're saying, no, you can't vote. You can't vote for this. So here's what I think needs to happen. I think the president should absolutely give forth his nomination. And here's another thing that bothers me before I get into that.
Okay.
Is we've had people come out last night, blue check marks on Twitter. We've even had several politicians come out and say, if the Republicans try to push forward on filling this seat, that they're going to burn everything down and they're going to riot. I'm sorry.
Oh, so it's blackmail?
Yeah, they're basically, yeah.
Okay.
What were you going to say?
No, you're basically blackmailing. That's blackmail. It's extortion. Yeah. You are threatening your political rivals with violence if you don't get your way.
Right.
That's not the country we live in.
Right.
Or it shouldn't be.
In 2016, President Barack Obama, he tweeted out, refusing to consider a SCOTUS nominee before one is even announced is irresponsible. Do your job. President Obama yesterday tweeted out, Obama calls on Senate not to fill Ginsburg's vacancy until after election. So which is it?
Well, it's hypocrisy is the norm.
Right. Hillary Clinton in 2016 said, in announcing Judge Merrick Garland as his nominee, President Obama has met his responsibility. Now it's up to members of the Senate to meet their own. Last night, Hillary Clinton says Senate Democrats will have to use every single possible maneuver to prevent Senator McConnell from enacting the greatest travesty and monumental hypocrisy in attempting to fill Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg's U.S. Supreme Court seat. So before it was Obama did Obama met his responsibility. Now the Senate needs to meet theirs. That was 2016. Yesterday, right. We have to use every single possible maneuver to keep that from happening. So basically she wants them to be irresponsible?
Well, no, basically she called it out for what it is. Except she's pointing. Remember, anytime you point a finger at someone else, you got three more pointing back at you.
Sure.
When you are going to sit here and say that that's hypocrisy, your statements are hypocrisy. I mean, just look at it. Now, you know what? I do agree with one thing. The president, and I'll say President Obama, making a nomination. He did his job. Now it's up to them. Sure. Not gonna argue that. And in like thinking, President Trump can make his nomination, and then it's up to the Senate to do what they're going to do.
Absolutely.
So I think the president should do his due diligence and nominate someone? Yes.
Yeah. Chuck Schumer in 2016, attention GOP. Senate has confirmed 17 SCOTUS justices in presidential election years. Hashtag do your job. Chuck Schumer yesterday, the American people should have a voice in the selection of their next Supreme Court justice. Therefore, this vacancy should not be filled until we have a new president. Wait, until we have a new president? So if President Trump wins, then we should wait until 2025?
Yeah, well, then the Americans' voice doesn't matter. But that's the kind of, that was the point in 2016 later too. You got to remember that. This has been 4 years of trying to say that the American people's voice didn't matter, because that's what they've been trying to do, is to undo it. And even in our timeline, keep in mind, while we're facing the biggest crisis that we've seen, and that I'm using the air quotes again, the biggest crisis we've ever seen in our lifetime with the COVID-19 pandemic, they're all criticizing, saying that they would have all done it different. No, you all would have been trying to get the president out of office via impeachment. And I know that because that's what you were doing. Well, the president was meeting with the CDC and the World Health Organization and China to try and figure out how to get this under control early. You guys were trying to throw him out of office. You dolts.
In 2016, Joe Biden, then Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden said, blocking Merrick Garland sets up genuine constitutional crisis. Dun, dun, dun. Ooh. Yesterday, Joe Biden speaks following death of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh,
quote,
he said,
let me be clear that the voters should pick the president and the president should pick the justice for the Senate to consider. Go for it.
Wait. That caught me off guard. I thought you were going to say, you said I would have been I don't know, with the thing. I mean, at the place. It just, I mean, come on, man. God.
Think about it.
Right? Yeah.
Think about it.
Just think about it. I mean, God.
Here's what he said yesterday. Let me be clear that the voters should pick the president and the president should pick the justice for the Senate to consider. Yeah, well, we did pick the president. And so the president should then pick the justice for the Senate to consider.
So the president
you're
should
absolutely
pick the
right,
justice.
Joe Biden. You're absolutely right.
I agree with that statement.
I agree with him.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I don't think that's what he meant.
No, that's not what he meant.
I think he was talking about a timeline of events.
Yeah. Chris Murphy of Connecticut, he said the Constitution says, quote, advise and consent. It's hard to do that if you won't even meet with a nominee. Hashtag do your job. That was in 2016. Today or yesterday, he wrote, Chris Murphy of Connecticut, if Republicans go forward and reverse the precedent they set in 2016, the Senate will never, ever be the same. It will be changed forever. I pray tonight that at least a few of my Republican colleagues understand this. The Republicans controlled the Senate in 2016, you dolt. They didn't want to listen to any of they didn't want to take a look at the nominations, they weren't violating the law. They weren't violating the law. Obama nominated somebody for the seat. The Senate said, cool, thanks. We'll consider it. As well as I do.
That is totally apparent.
Same thing. Yeah.
Looking at a kid going, you know what? I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Now go away. And yes, if the roles were reversed, actually it would be different because they would be outgoing. There is not a chance in HE double hockey sticks that we are going to give any consideration to any nomination this president would make until after the general election. And if that person is still president at that point, this process could take a very long time. I could hear any of them, especially Chucky Schumer there, saying something just like that.
Yeah. Senator Richard Blumenthal in 2016, he tweeted out, I was outside SCOTUS today urging the Senate GOP to hashtag do your job and hold a hearing vote for SCOTUS nom Garland. Hashtag we need 9. Yesterday, the same Senator Richard Blumenthal, he tweeted out, as to the appointment of Ginsburg's successor, I couldn't improve on what McConnell said after Scalia's death. The American people must have a voice in the selection of their next Supreme Court justice. Therefore, this vacancy should not be filled until we have a new president. Here's Senator Mazie Hirono of Hawaii. She said, in 2016, after meeting with Judge Garland, it's even more apparent that Republicans must #do your job and consider his nomination. Yesterday, she said, she was on CNN, and she said, the Democrats are going to do everything we can to fight back to ensure that Senator Majority Leader McConnell doesn't steal another seat. Senator Mazie Hirono says about the Supreme Court vacancy after Ruth Bader Ginsburg's death. Senator Hirono was the same person who said yesterday that that if the Democrats win the White House and the Senate, that they will absolutely expand the Supreme Court and they will pack it with liberal judges. And they want to. The rumor on the street now is they want to expand it from 9 to 15.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And that's just simply so that they can ensure that they have a liberal majority on the bench.
Can you imagine
override anything?
Can you imagine the collective outrage from the left if Trump, after winning in 2016, wanted to expand the Supreme Court?
Well, no, I can't. And I say that only because the idea of having a larger Supreme Court goes against the whole idea of a conservative government. I mean, that's completely contrary to that idea. So no, I can't really accept
it. The list goes on and on. I have, Senator Patrick Leahy, same thing. There's the CAP Action Committee, a think tank, NARAL, a think tank, the Leadership Conference, another think tank, CNN. They in 2016, they were saying we need to nominate or we need to vote on Merrick Garland. And then yesterday they were saying, no, we can't. Vox.com, same thing, echoing the exact same thing. MSNBC, same thing. Slate, of course, same thing. It goes on and on.
Yeah. The only thing consistent is that they will be absolutely Hippocratic in their mindset. It's and this is where I was talking to you before about short-term versus long-term. I don't think they even remember any of that.
No.
It just short-term memory. All that stuff that happened before is gone, other than the fact that they're still mad.
Right. And again, you have to understand the politics at play. The politics at play in 2016 were different than they were today. And that's because the GOP controlled the Senate in 2016. So now, if you want to have a debate and say, well, in 2016, it was not right of the GOP to sit on a nomination, we can have that argument. We can have that debate, right? That's a legitimate, but that's a separate issue. It's still up to the Senate to determine whether or not they're going to listen to, they're going to hold hearings and if they're going to conduct a vote. And if they don't want to do that, well, then they're basically going to the president. That's what the GOP did to Obama in 2016. Now you can take issue with that. You can take umbrage with that all you want. And you know as well as I do that if President Trump were to win this year, and let's say the Democrats take over the Senate going into next year when they reconvene, okay, I would not be surprised if the Supreme Court stays at 8 justices for the next 4 years.
Oh, I could see them locking that out. Absolutely could.
Yeah, just stays at 8 seats for the duration of his presidency.
And you're not going to see any of them coming back with a quote unquote "we need 9." That's going to be lost in the past.
Correct. We had. I mentioned earlier that there were blue checks and politicians who were calling for riots if there was a nomination and if they were trying to ram through a SCOTUS nominee. But Trump hasn't even nominated anybody, and they were rioting in Manhattan today.
Well, yeah, they've been rioting for
freaking months, but they rioted today over RBG's death and the idea that Trump could, he's now since come out and said, yeah, he's going to put forth a nomination on Friday, but they were already rioting today. And so we had people on Twitter basically threatening, saying, if you nominate, we're going to riot. Well, you already did.
You're already right.
You're already rioting. Yeah. So what difference does it matter to me? What difference does it matter to
the only thing that tells me The only thing that tells me is, as an American citizen, is that if I want any of this BS, this rioting and all this other kind of stuff to stop, you're just pushing me towards the other direction. I'm not going to concede, because as we've seen with all the Black Lives Matter movement, and we've seen with all of the other movements, there's no concession. There's no pittance that I or anybody in this country is going to be able to give that is going to put an end to this, that is going to satiate your appetite for rioting and violence. That's not going to happen. This is going to get squashed one way or the other. And the only thing you're doing effectively is pushing everybody out there who wasn't quite sure to go, I've had enough. It's done. And I'm on board the Trump train, if you want to call it that.
You know what's insane today? So Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she passes away yesterday, right? And we're in the middle of a presidential election. This morning, today, September 19th, Biden's campaign called a lid at 8:30 a.m. Now, for those of you who do not know what a lid is, what that means is they put the lid on the day. They basically said, we're done. No more news comes out of our campaign at all. You're not going to see Joe Biden for the rest of the day. They normally do that at like 8 o'clock at night. Like in the White House, they're still open until like 8 o'clock at night, which is still early on the West Coast. They typically don't do a lid until well into the evening. The Biden campaign did a lid at 8:30 a.m. 8:30.
Joe was not having a good day.
That tells me that Biden had a very bad day. Mm-hmm. He, we talked about it last week with the dementia and the rumors in the campaign that has good days and he's starting to have bad days. This tells me if you're calling a lid at 8:30 in the morning, you couldn't put him out there. This is the day after a progressive icon has died.
Yeah.
This is a presidential campaign. The man cannot even make it until lunch. He cannot make it to lunch. And you want to put this guy in the Oval Office where he's supposed to go and meet with foreign leaders?
Yeah, it's crazy. And actually, I was listening earlier this week, and I want to say it was Sean Hannity, and I can't remember. He had a guest on, and I feel terrible. I can't remember who it was, but actually called out, and this sounds terrible, but I'm just repeating it, so bear with me, but said that this rivaled elder abuse, putting him out there in his current state, in the manner that he is, actually almost attributed it to a form of elder abuse. Anyone else in a situation like that should not be being paraded around, should not be flown around the country the way they are, should not be tested with their mental faculties the way he has been. And I don't mean tested as in like, actual testing, but tried, we'll say that way. It's almost abusive. Yeah. And I thought that was very harsh when I heard it that way. And I said, well, I don't know if I'd go that far, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's not far off from the truth. I mean, I actually do feel bad. I really do.
Yeah. So we have the Democrats who are basically threatening extortion of the American people and of the GOP if they try to fill a SCOTUS seat. We have the Democrats who are now threatening to expand the Supreme Court and stack it full of judges. Now, one might be wondering, well, why would they want to do that? And the reason why they want to do that is because it's much easier to legislate through the judicial branch than it is to legislate through the legislative branch. It's very easy to sway one court. If I have, if there are 9 Supreme Court justices, all I need to convince is 5 people. And well, I don't have to go through the umpteen million bajillion criminals that are in the House of Representatives. I don't have to get through them. I just have to convince 5 people and I get my way.
Yep.
So,
And that's a simple majority. Now, and going to 15, if they're actually able to jump from 9 to 15, let's just say that actually is able to be done. Well, all of those appointments are going to happen at once. They're not going to just say, "Oh, we'll do that over the next 8 years."
they would have to fill them. Yeah,
No,
they would
they'd
fill
have
all
to
at one
fill
time.
them immediately, which means they would control the next six people going into that.
Right.
And keep in mind, these are life appointments.
Right.
So they have ultimate control over our lives for the conceivable future, because I mean, it's just absolutely mind-boggling. Absolutely mind-boggling. They know that they've got 4 of those seats locked in right now, and that's what they're worried about. I mean, they were even talking about they don't want Mitch McConnell and the Republicans to steal another seat from them. I mean, that's what this is all about. It's about power. It's about control over you and me and the rest of the American public and the government system in whole.
Well, it's just a shame, and we're not even in October. Prepare for October surprises. You know what? And I believe it's going to get crazier and crazier. I think by the by mid-October, I would not be surprised if we have 20 new cases, 20 new women come out and say that Trump abused them, or sexually assaulted them, where they were back in 2015 when he was running for president, or 2016, I don't know. But, we're just going to continue. At this point, I think the left is going to be throwing anything and everything they can at the wall. We're already seeing it. And it's going to get crazy. I thought it was going to be crazy already. And then RBG passed away, and shit just got real.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately that's real in a different way. And I was trying to explain this a little bit today with my former boss, but the RBG, this actually has real long-term effect on the oversight of the government for how it regulates our conduct and behavior going forward. And it's long-term. All of this stuff going on right now with the election, you've got to understand, they've already, if you are on the conservative side trying to understand how the liberal side is thinking, you have to actually understand a couple things. One, this is war. This whole thing is war. Right now, this is just a battle. They've already conceded a loss on the battlefield, and they are planning their next attack going forward. That's why they are ramping up the hatred relations. They're talking about the blackmail. If you vote and if this happens, there's going to be riots, and they're already planning what's going to be happening in mid-November and December. They're talking about what's happening over Christmas. Everybody else is still looking right at November 3rd. You've got to understand they're past that. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg, long-term, they didn't have that planned for, not yet. They were looking at 2021 to 2024, okay? This election, they've already kind of given up, and they're actually looking at how they're going to affect your emotions going forward. They want you as the American public to feel like you got cheated out of whatever was yours. And that's what they're going to be capitalizing on to gain their momentum, to fight the war, not worrying about the battle. My wife really hates when I talk about this, but you have to understand this is war. These two sides are at war, this liberal and conservative, and it's been going on for a while. But we're at a tipping point here, and they're grabbing for power. That's why Ruth Bader Ginsburg is such a huge deal for them.
Yep. And ultimately, well, the country's falling into ruin anyway, but we'll talk about that next week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. As always, for Jason Moret, I'm Manuel Ramirez. You've been listening to The Fusion Underground. Peace out.
Have a good night.